Si mzuri jana siku sosi. Maybe akona madonda kupiga kakini. Osha mwambie huko niko mzuri. Anaja.
Hopefully hata kupatia wash.
It doesn't matter nowadays.
You will receive it.
Wewe jota pesa ya mchawi na nunuanga kitu kwa duka.
Now Crystal, wacha tucheki nini na happen kwa gazeti. Aseto, give us a head start.
So the front page of the Standard, no turning back, says Raila Odinga's talks collapse, but that has been expounded on page 8. Raila anasema azimio for Sabasaba demos and signatures against Kenya Kwanza tyranny. Anasema the people have had enough. There comes a time when being taken for granted becomes unbearable. There comes a time when being treated as fools become intolerable. So basically, anasema Friday, opposition is on. Kutakuwa na demonstrations against mostly the Finance Act.
Yeah, so Crystal, let me ask you, let me take you way back to ile day by partisan talks.
I was about to be salty just then, but
unadhani
I was going to say, put some respect on my name. It's
true.
Yeah.
But the times change. Yeah, people change, ukiingianga uko senator ma parliament.
Lazima badilike.
Tukujuange kama Crystal na hata kama Mhesh. Sawa Mhesh.
I'm kidding. Crystal,
okay, unadhani kulikuwa na goodwill from the get-go from both sides, especially kutoka hiyo side ya gava?
Okay, first of all, mini ODM, so gang. Yeah. Everything I say will be from that perspective.
You're very well allowed.
I think trick me once, my fault. Trick me twice, yeah, you see that saying. So the issue with this bipartisan talks, they've been going super slow. We don't see any fruits coming out of it. We don't actually see people having goodwill, to be honest. Yondo shida. So now we're like, if that's the case, why don't gaslight us? Don't continue gaslighting us.
The streets, back to the streets. And
I actually don't think that this time it will be a Baba thing, a Raila thing. It's the people who are actually the ones who are driving this, to be quite honest. Yeah, I think mwanzo tulianza, Baba was, leading and like telling us, like, this is your right. It's in the constitution. Your right to demonstrate and say what you want from the government. Like now, people have taken it. They're like, oh my God, we can do this. How many other countries in the world are doing it? South Africa, France. Yeah, just the other day, another huge demonstration in Paris, right?
Israel.
So yes, exactly. In West Africa, all over the world. So it's not unique to Kenya. Na sitaki watu wafikiria ati ni baba ndo amegonga kwa milango zetu like, baba amkeni. No.
Kuna firimbi this time.
Kabisa.
But on that bado Joe Mhesh, imandamano, your take. Do you think inatusaidia ngasika wa Kenya? Ni sawa huko Netherlands wapi wanafanya hizo maandamano, but kuna way ya picketing ile watu ndeni mahali fulani. Hii yetu mara moja wangatuni inaharibu mambo za watu. Unage biashara zifunguliwa, duka lazima zifungwe, magari lazima zichomwe. Is it the only way tunaweza fanya hii kitu, ama kunaweza kuwa na another way? Hata kama ni watu meitai.
But the question is who is doing all that? Nani anachoma magari? Ni ODM, ni Azimio kweli?
Ni watu waliitwa na baba alitumia sauti yake. Tutapatana Sabasaba Kamukunji.
You need to be careful. Don't put it out there.
No, I'm just saying, ni baba amesema twendeni maandamano. Raila Azimio rally, Sabasaba demos zitaendelea Kamukunji. Raila.
The part that I'm protesting ni hiyo part ambayo unasema kuchoma tires.
Did you so happen time ya maandamano?
Correct, yeah. But I'm saying, who do you really
should take responsibility?
Who do you really believe is doing that part? Because sometimes you have a good thing and then there'll be two rotten apples in the bunch, See Nisisi, the young people who are out here trying to stop businesses, tunapigana for no reason. No, I don't think that's a storyline that should be out there, narrative that should be out there. Lakini, to the question about maandamano, I think that if people want to go out, it's your right. It absolutely is. It's in the constitution.
Right of picketing.
Yes. But then on the same, when it comes to issues to do with maandamano, I know there is someone wants to take a bill in parliament to sort of control how demonstrations and picketing is done in the country, so that he who calls for demonstrations bears the responsibility in case there is any distraction. So, because even right now as we speak, kama kuna maandamano, there is a process. You notify the police and then the route that you will take and all that. But even while that is happening, we see a distraction destruction of property. There is also police using excess power. So in such a situation, we'd say police are using excess power, excess force, hence the reason why people retaliate against them. But it is catch-22. Someone would say police are just protecting public property. So what responsibility does those who call for demonstration bear in this?
I think that the onus is absolutely on the bigger power in any situation. The onus is on the police to restrain themselves, because they have much more ammunition, they have much more power, they have more authority than the common picketer who demonstrator on the street. So whatever the case, I don't think there is any reason to pull out weapons on civilians. I don't think there's any reason at all, unless you really believe that your life is in imminent danger. I don't think that there's a reason for excessive force whatsoever. Like we just talked about these other countries. Say you see police walking with demonstrators, and no one is antagonizing the other. They're actually supporting what the demos are doing. And so I think when Kenyans, or rather the authorities, understand that this is our right, and even though they may have the powers that be telling them what to do, execute. This is what I need you to execute, because I'm in charge of whatever. But the point is that there's never a need for excessive power, especially from those who know that they have it and can use it at any time. You should be the one in control.
So jina ma saba rather, najua ilikuwa banned by our second president Daniel Moi to teach Moi in 1990, but tunajua hiyo demonstration will lead to multi-party elections in 1992. Currently a section of Kenyans wanafiliani ni kama Gava may fail in the mandate to cushion us against the high cost of living. Now saba ama niseme maandamano inaenda go down on Friday. Do you think itakuwa na impact yote in the long run?
Well, that's the hope, Sindio. Otherwise, people will not be going to the street. I think that it has had an impact already. I think the last few times it's happened, you saw, people straighten up their back. You saw people listening, even if it's kidogo. But now the issue is this Finance Act has gone through without our thoughts and our views being taken into account fully. We feel like it's just a tokenistic exercise. Mambo ya public participation. Did you guys participate?
Of course.
And then you come back and you see the act that has been assented hasn't got your views in it. So it's like, why are we doing this thing? Why is it that you're, like I say, gaslighting? So I believe that there's a good reason for maandamano. The talks have not moved even an inch, number one. Number two, the Finance Act has gone through without any of the people's real thoughts and feelings being reflected in it. And so, to Rudy, let's continue. Yeah, let's let them see us.
But Crystal, even as you talk about the Finance Act, when it was still at the bill stage, when it was still being discussed, there is what the government presented as their proposals to Kenyans on what they wanted to hence become the act, and Azimio really wali oppose that bill, right? But there was no alternative from Azimio. Okay. The way this is our document that tunasema when it comes to funding, say, education, this is what we will do. This is what we propose to be done. It was all about we are objecting that tutaenda maandamano wa Kenya wamesema, So someone would say Azimio failed in cushioning Kenyans or even having their voices heard because they were not prepared.
I mean, it will be said for sure. I'm not taking away anyone's opinion about it, right? I think that from historically, it's only been like less than a year that this regime has been in power, and you see what has happened, the promises that have been made vis-a-vis what has been accomplished so far. You see, it's like black and white. It's like day and night. What is being said and what is being done, and even with the Finance Act now, for example, we've already got Senator Omtata has gone to court. It has been suspended, but still, it's impunity. It's, people are still like, well, what's going on? Why is fuel gone up? Why has this gone up? Why have taxes been? The suspension of these taxes and these provisions been ignored. So I think, like the headline says or the story says, people will get tired. At some point you get tired. You
Punde imechoka.
do you want to continue like this for 4 years?
And then you sit in the Senate. All right. And E-Finance Act also touches on the Senate and devolved units out there. And we know wakati walikuwa na discuss at the bill stage, it ought to have come to the Senate.
Correct.
So that you give your own views. Correct. As the Senate representing the devolved units. So when these did not come to you, did you raise it with the Senate? Did you raise it with the Senate Speaker? Sorry, did you raise it with the National Assembly Speaker? And if so, what did they? And if not, why not?
It was raised. The issue was not seen to, and so the only other way to do it was now to go to the court system, because when somebody has you by the chokehold, if your hands are tied, your hands are tied. I mean, like I don't have to speak. People know, your listeners even can see what is going on. Like there is no choice in a lot of these matters. When the order comes from wherever it comes from, it happens. You don't ask, you just follow. So the only other way is now to go to the court system and refute it. Of course, any bill that comes to Parliament has to go through both houses, especially when it has to do with counties, because counties' mandate is to oversight and take care of counties. And of course, a Finance Act or a finance bill, what it was like last week, has to come to Senate. It has to be debated. And I think because Senate is more, it's seen as, not seen as, it is the upper house. It's called the upper house, right? It's more sober. We have more sober minds in there. Even though, of course, it's still a battle between minority and majority at the end of the day. But there are more sober minds. And for that reason as well, that was probably another strategy, of course, to ensure that it doesn't come over to this side. I think kwa Senate pia kuna senators wa Kenya Kwanza who represent counties, and when such a bill is not brought to the House, do they just sit because wakona orders from above? And in that case, what are they telling their constituents?
Yeah, briefly before we take a short break.
I couldn't answer. Miss ko Kenya Kwanza.
Sawa, Magisaini 7:30 #morning vibe tuko kwa MVP report. We're hanging out with Crystal Asige. She's a nominated senator wa Azimio. Lazima tu clarify. Tukirudi tunaendelea. Na hii
to clarify.
Lazima wase. Mr. Crystal Ajama sisi. Good morning.
More vibes to keep you moving.
Like the fresh smell of the ocean as it smashes against the rocks. Like the fresh smell of dew on a crisp African morning. Like the fresh smell of a waterfall dropping down into a river. Like the fresh smell of lavender as you walk through a garden.
Immerse yourself in a world of freshness with just one toss. With Toss Lavender that will leave your clothes smelling fresh and clean all day. A toss of lavender, a world of freshness. Available in all leading supermarkets.
Start your day the MVP way.
Let me say something. Kuna simu yeye alinipigia. Anambia Kevo, you are Kevin nini Kevo. Sasa Kevo una deni ya nini hujalipa? Kambia yeye ni ukweli sijalipa.
Rise and shine to positive vibes with the MVPs.
Kambia naona na have kulipa.
Get your fix of conscious talk, personalities and the hottest reggae vibes.
Lakini kama tu right direct. Okay babes, usijamna. Ni kukosa, tusikosanie kukosa. Sawa. Do hivi. Unataka hata usita. Nikopeshe nilipe. Hapo ni kitu kilizo na pesa.
Know what's hot and what's not with the MVPs.
Kevo Batman and Kevo Matara.
Every day of the week, 6 to 10 a.m. Only on Vibes Radio.
Choo.
This is the Modern Vibes on Vibes Radio. Aye.